Good morning. I'm Jedi Hill, Amazon best-selling author and future president running for the nomination on the Libertarian Party for 2020. And big trigger alert, guys. If you are a snowflake and you are not willing to test and challenge your faith to see if it is real, don't watch this video. If you want to see the truth in everything, how the universe really works, keep watching before Facebook censors us and takes us down. So this video today, we're going to get into my thoughts, both here and here, on the truth about Jesus the Christ, who is a master alchemist. So come on, get excited. We're going to have some fun. I'm excited to hear your thoughts as we go through this. But, forewarning, trigger alert, trigger alert, trigger alert. So he is featured in my book, Alchemy of the Master's Path. And if you haven't got it already, you can go to alchemyofthemasterspath.com and get chapter 1 for free. So pretty cool there. You'll love it. It goes over chapter 1 hits some of the 7 Hermetic principles, which are the universal laws that govern the universe that Jesus and others have used to do everything from changing lead to gold to the wave of a hand to bring people back from the dead, as in the case of Lazarus, and so many more fun things. But what you've been told in the church about Jesus is a lie, is a lie, is a lie. And we'll go more in detail, but first I want to step back. We're going back to ancient history. Back in the time of Jesus. And he had his apostles, we're not going to get into all the details about the 12 apostles relating to the different zodiac signs and things like that. But, that might be another day. But today, we're going to fast forward just a little bit after his death to 325 AD and the Council of Nicaea and Emperor Constantine of Rome. Well, what they had done is they had done a council to decide which of all these individual books that had been written about Jesus's life and things actually go in the Bible. They almost took out the book of Job because of the line showing that, Satan or the devil was a servant of the Lord, not an adversary. But that's a whole different story for another day. But they took out different books like the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Mary, and even on the other books, they edited out the parts that taught you how to pray, how to align thought, emotion coming from your solar plexus, sacral, and lower chakras to radiate out as feeling from your heart. So the entire church and the religion, and the very word religion means to bind or to hold back. So it was to bind the communities together, placate the pagans, and integrate all kinds of things. And the Jesus thing, I still believe he walks in a physical body as he is a master alchemist, and we'll get more into that in a little bit. But when you're going through the history, it was earlier on, it was Yeshua. It wasn't even the term Jesus. And the biggest mistranslation that irritates me, and I still got processing on this one, but I'm getting better. Because emotional processing and everything, the path to self-mastery is eternal. And once you realize the path is eternal, the work becomes the worship. But it's not Jesus Christ. It's Jesus the Christ, which was a title of spiritual attainment. Because even he said in it, don't ye know that ye are gods, that it is written in your law that ye are gods. And anything I do, ye can do, and more. Okay? And I've had issues with the church. You know, I am a non-denominational ordained minister, have been since 2002. Or 2000, was it 2000? Yeah, 2002. And you know, I went through the church. You know, my dad's the Native American, and then my mother, Presbyterian, grandmother Baptist. I've been in many Catholic churches and everything else over the years. And God, the Catholic Church uses more ritual than most of the pagans and the people into witchcraft and everything else do. But that's a story for another day. Because you know, I'll just give you one little thing, because you know, they tell you money is the root of all evil, and it's actually the love of money, where you know, money becomes your god, which is the god for most people in capitalism. But what they do in the church, especially the Catholic Church, is they are burning the incense, frankincense, and myrrh, which has been chosen to have psychoactive effects that put you into a euphoric state or feeling. So they're literally getting you high by waving the smoke as they walk by. Then they do their music and get the spirit in you by singing and just dance into the music, which anybody that understands physics and understands neuroscience and how the body works knows that the music gets the body in the rhythm, and that's where you're getting the spirit in you. Then, after they got the spirit in you and they've got you high on frankincense and myrrh, getting this happy, euphoric feeling, which is one of the reasons you feel better in church, they ask you for your money. So they drug you and then ask you for money. Think on that one for a moment. I'm a little different than most people. Let me tell you a story. When I was 5 years old, I was, you know, in the Presbyterian church. It was one of those Sundays, you know, they did the little first couple of songs or whatever, and then they send the kids away to Sunday school. And this time, the teacher is going over the beginning of creation. So we talk about the 7 days of creation, which Google it, look it up. Don't ever believe anything I say. Do your research and get off of Google, because Google is still censoring things. You know, go find old textbooks and things like that to double check this stuff. But the 7 days of creation is relating to sacred geometry and, you know, how you're actually creating something from nothing using sacred geometry. And you can find some of that fun stuff another time. But, you know, in the Bible, they're not explaining it that way. They're talking about let there be light, created the earth, the waters, the sea, the plants, the animals, and then they get to making Adam. And of course, they took out of the Bible Adam's first wife, Lilith, because she wanted to ride on top too and make it fair. So, you know, we'll hit the Lilith topic another day, but, you know, Adam and Lilith don't get along. They took that part out of the Bible. So now they start with us as kids at 5, you know, talking to us about Eve and how they pulled the rib from her and made her from his rib. And understanding genetic theory and things like that, you could take a sample from someone, modify it a little bit for the chromosome, boom, boom, you now have a nearly identical female. Maybe the ancient alien theories are right, you know? Maybe the God in the Old Testament is just some alien race, kind of like the Anunnaki. But that's neither here nor there. We're talking about, you know, working our way to Jesus. And, you know, you having my experience of what happened in the church. So, again, I'm 5 years old. And we're going over the story. We've got to the Adam and Eve. Now it gets fun and interesting. You know, Adam and Eve are supposedly the first and only people. They have sons, Cain and Abel. It's the only sons. Cain kills Abel because, supposedly the God liked the animal sacrifice better than the crops and the plants, which doesn't sound like a very loving God to me, but, that's neither here nor there. So Cain kills Abel, and Cain is banished from the Garden of Eden. Well, Cain travels to the land of Nod. And, look in your Bible, go right here to Genesis and follow me through if you need to. Pause it, go Google it, whatever you got to do. Because this one's going to really make you think, and hopefully it'll send you on a search that'll improve your faith in the long run and actually get you to understand things. So Cain goes to the land of Nod and meets his wife in the land of Nod. I'm like, hold on, teacher, hold on, pause. Something doesn't make sense to me. And note this, I'm 5 years old at this time. So as a teacher, if Adam and Eve are the only people, and they just have sons, Cain and Abel, how did Cain's wife come into existence? And they're like, error. Their subconscious brainwashing programming from the Presbyterian Church kicked in. You can't ask those questions. Those are the devil's questions, asking for any of the flaws in the Holy Bible. Oh my God, you can't ask those questions. So they labeled you as like a demon child because you ask questions they can't answer because they were never smart enough to think and ask for themselves. So, mind you, I'm 5, and they never gave me a satisfactory answer. So, it just left me perplexed because I'm already thinking now at 5. So you're telling me God is all seeing, all powerful, all knowing, but yet he's lying to his creation. Something to think on. So that was my, one of my earlier experiences in church. And then, I wanted to understand more because my mother was so adamant about us going to church every Sunday. And I see so many people in their states of, how do I say this tactfully, that they're in the spirit and asserting their faith. They're taught to be loving, don't judge your neighbor, loving, don't judge your neighbor. Well, hey, this is not the right way to teach children. The subconscious mind is not able to process a negative. This is why the Native Americans just taught you to love everybody. The word judge wasn't even mentioned. It was just love. We are all one, we are a family, we are a tribe, we work together. That is how I was raised on the Native side. But on the Christian side, it's love your God. Jesus is talking about love your God with all your heart, all your soul, and love your neighbor as thyself. That was the New Testament law. But that's not what the church taught. The church was love your neighbor, don't judge them. Love your neighbor, don't judge them. And since the subconscious mind can't process a negative, I'm going to use the Planet Fitness here. We'll take it away from the religion for a second. Any of you ever been to Planet Fitness? It's judgment-free zone or no judgment zone painted on their walls. And it's such an oxymoron because your mind can't process a negative, so all you see is free judgment zone or judgment zone, which is hilarious because their commercials even are judgmental against people that are already healthy and in shape, and they intentionally sabotage the people working out by having donut and coffee days and pizza days to mess up your diet. So you keep going there longer. And if you're actually in shape, they've got lunk alarms and things like that. So as you can see from the Planet Fitness just even trying to say it's a judgment-free zone or a no judgment zone, you're creating the judgment, which is really fascinating as you get into it. So, what I was taught in the church, and, granted, I have processed all this out and dealt with all these little things and traumas, so I can talk about them now and it not be a big deal to me. But you're taught, love your neighbor, don't judge. Love your neighbor, don't judge. So all you hear is love your neighbor, judge. Love your neighbor, judge. Love your neighbor, judge. So that is the mentality most people are brought up in the church. Now, don't get me wrong. I have traveled this country, and there are some churches that are far better than, the Presbyterian church I went to in Salem, Ohio, because each congregation, each pastor is different. So there are some very good ones I found, especially with the Unitarian churches and some of the non-denominational that are much more open and loving. But, this was what I was learning about the church. So I'm going through the Presbyterian church, and I go through the whole seminary and things to become a member of church as I get older, learning about Jesus. I actually read the Good News Bible from cover to cover. I read a copy of the King James Bible from cover to cover. So I kind of understood what was going on. And, things just kept not adding up. And, we get to Jesus. Like, he has such wonderful, wonderful teachings. But they aren't structured properly. People focus on the wrong things. The hating the gays, hating the Like, stop. It's enough for the hate. We are cutting that off, and we are throwing that away. We're going to follow what Jesus taught, to love your neighbor as thyself and love your God with all your heart. So whatever your God is, deity, creator, Wankatonka, Allah, whatever, I don't care. What you call your supreme creator or whatever being, higher self, whatever, source, don't care. Doesn't matter. It's all the same thing. And it's the Lord of your understanding. And as you expand it, better off. But, we were getting into the Jesus stuff, and, he had some wonderful things for the Beatitudes, keeping your mind on the light and where you want to go to have your vision. And, the grand vision is paradise, heaven on earth. And we're actually going to create it. You guys may have seen some of my other videos in the past where I've talked about how we're going to create that with, we're going to clean up all the plastic in the oceans and transform and recycle it into giant Lego blocks that we throw back into the ocean and link them together to create giant ship farms. But that'll be stuff, for another video. But yeah, we're getting to the Jesus, and he has all these lines that, are wonderful. I'm the biggest line. This is the second. Remember, the first one that bothered me is it's not Jesus Christ, it's Jesus the Christ. But the other one that is so misinterpreted, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Or the light, depending on the translation you look at. So I am the way, the truth, and the life. And they've moved the commas and things around. It's I am, comma, or semicolon. Because Jesus wasn't talking about himself. He was talking about the great concept of I am, the consciousness, awareness itself. The all is mine. Because remember, he was an alchemist and had studied in Egypt and Tibet and that, and learned from the masters. So what does that phrase really mean? Most people think it's, nobody gets to the Father except through me. Well, they're again misinterpreting. They're trying to take it as Jesus the man or Jesus the demigod. And that's not the case, because Jesus also said, all these things I do, ye can do, and more. And remember the don't ye know that ye are gods. And they talk about, after he gets baptized by John the Baptist, you have the dove come down and you have the 2 in 1. So when Jesus is talking about I am, the way, the truth, and the life, or the light. He's talking about the words I am, because anything you place after the words I am shape your reality. Oh, starting to get a little more light out. Hold on. There you go. That should make it a little bit easier to see me. So, I am the way, the truth, the life. So, the words I am, anything after, shape your reality. Now, this is, it's a big one to take for you, and I understand if you have a little bit of cognitive dissonance and you just can't wrap your head around it. So, to help you out with that, let's go back to the Old Testament in the Bible. Y'all know the story about Moses, right? I'm sure. And if you don't, go watch it. I even watch The Prince of Egypt by Disney, and you'll get enough of it that you don't have to read through the books if it's too boring for you. You get enough to understand it. So Moses, while he's in the desert, he goes up to the top of the mountain. And he sees the burning bush. I know scientists have figured out which bush it was that, secretes oils or whatever and can burn for a while, and there's even people that think he was high on hallucinogens, but that's neither here nor there. We're going to just stick with what's in the Bible for the moment. And when the burning bush talks and, Moses asks, is that you, Lord? And the Lord responds, or God responds, I am that I am. Again, that I am. So if you understand that and you actually look at the Old Testament and go back and look through Exodus and look at the story of Moses, and you'll see exactly what I'm saying is true. So Jesus, when he refers to I am the way, the truth, the light, the life, is referring to the great I am, because anything you say after it shapes your reality, the consciousness, the mind that makes up the entire universe. And it's where you're directing your attention and your focus. So he had some wonderful teachings, and I would like you to apply them in your life. I know I'm the next president of the United States here for 2020, running currently for the nomination on the Libertarian Party. And we're going to, by, voting for me, we're all going to be free. So, if you want to be rich and free, vote for me. If you haven't got the book yet, you'll go more in details on it. Jesus was the master alchemist. He was able to raise people from the dead, turn one fish into many. These are all things, the more you understand about the universal laws, the Hermetic principles, which are all in chapter 1 of my book. You can get it at alchemythemasterspath.com, read chapter 1 for free, so you can look at what I'm saying and just be amazed what can actually be done. Like, stop trying to just worship him as some god and realize he is the ideal. This is what you can achieve. Like, in the next 100 years, as we keep doing this awakening and this woke culture and things like that, people at the level of Jesus and Buddha, Lao Tzu and stuff will start becoming more and more commonplace. So if you want to learn more, send me a message. I gladly help teach you how to transform your mind so you can make your inner critic your inner best friend and start to learn a little bit more about this I am principle. But this is Jedi signing off. May the force be with you. And, look at Jesus as an example and the ideal so that you may rise up too. Remember, I am the way, the truth, and the life. So, peace.